It is in the 1960s, and there were an additional 40,000 beds available for people at mental health facilities in the state hospitals. Americans that had difficulty sorting out mental health issues had somewhere safe to go for treatment. Some, of course, had other issues like birth defects or Down syndrome and had been left by their families. Others, on the more extreme side, had violent outbursts and frantic terrors. Later in the 1960s, the administration started to close as care for the mentally ill was transferred to independent treatment centers due to centers having access to more humane and sophisticated treatment processes and procedures. They was more effective in the treatment of most American mental health issues like depression, eating disorder, and alcoholism. Fast forward to the 1967 and the Reagan administration, we had the Lanterman Petrus Short Act, LPS, passed in California, which was allowed local private mental facilities to access more patients. As stated in the article from thegorman.com, Reagan did not close mental health facilities. Unforeseen consequences developed without a requirement that all mental health patients go to public facilities. Many borderline individuals simply refused private treatment, as was their right. The upshot was that many individuals who could have benefited from the treatment simply did not get any at all. They wound up functional members of the public, and sometimes problems occurred. In late 1980, all state-run mental health facilities and asylums with the capacity to help over 40,000 people were all but gone and replaced with county, state, and federal prison systems, leaving nowhere for people to seek out help with issues unless they had the ability to go to physicians or psychologists. This forced most people that had mental health issues out into the streets, due most in part from their inability to maintain their mental health, either from keeping up with appointments or the rising cost of medication. The lack of people to help the field for these people who would end up falling through the cracks. And I'm not saying all homeless have or suffer from mild or severe mental health issues. Of course, some have indeed fell on tough times and are struggling to make their way out of it. The main issue is the lack of proper health care for the people that have severe mental health problems who does not require constant help and supervision. From Mental Health Illness Policy.org said in January 2015, the most extensive survey ever undertaken found that 564,708 people were homeless on any given night in the United States. They go on to say that 250,000 homeless have mental illness. 140,000, or a third, suffer from serious mental health. As Americans, we must find a better solution to the mental health issue on our streets. One way to help would be to turn the empty vacant malls in our cities and transform them into tiny health care centers that can house, treat, and maintain the health of the homeless that battle the demons they plague their minds. These malls and vacant facilities are sitting waiting for new life. Turn one in the large store fronts on the end of the mall into an intake center. Have a representative from each facility go to camps around the area and give out information on the program that will be available. Once the program started getting people in, find tasks that can perform and utilize them to help renovate the other vacant buildings, turning them into dormitories for men, women, and families. All malls have food courts that can turn into large food cafeterias. People that are using the facilities can utilize their abilities to help prepare and feed the people. Local food banks can bring their perishables to these facilities to help. We as Americans need to press legislation and Governor Newsom to redirect funds set aside from the Home Key program. Start using these funds to absorb the large malls sitting stagnant and attracting vagrants and vandalism, giving them new purpose, housing tens of thousands of homeless, and helping the 1/3 that suffer from mental health. The Home Key program has been given an additional $150 million investment on its already staggering $3.75 billion already spent, with little to nothing to show for it, with still thousands still sleeping on the street corners. Home Key is a scam for California residents. It's just going by numbers alone. It shows a huge waste of funds. Go to homekey.com, hcd.ca.gov. You can check the numbers for yourself. They boast numbers of individuals housed at 8,264. Doing the math, everyone could have been placed in a home valued at $450,000 each. Knowing that each home key project is just a temporary solution and not meant for long-term living is why the abandoned malls would be a better solution. This, of course, is not the long-term answer for the homeless, but it would be a start. Even if it helps 1 out of every 100, we're still giving people a better chance of making it on a road to permanent housing on their own.